Hi, everyone. I'm back to talk to you a little bit more about my book, Move from Employee to CEO of Your Own Destiny. And I thought I would go over one of the chapters around preparing your business plan. Because for many of you, depends on the business, depends on the complexity of the business. You may be looking to start some kind of retail store, or you might be looking to start a software company. But either way, you have certain things you have to have in your business plan. So let's talk a little bit about that today. A business plan really consists of the following components. It's outlining what your business mission is, like what is the purpose of your business, your business values and principles, your objectives and goals, long-term and short-term actions, the products and services that you're going to be offering, your value proposition, what differentiates you. And as part of that analysis, we do something called a SWOT. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this allows us to see our business from the lens of what's good about it, what are the potential threats, what are the potential weaknesses of our ideas, where are the opportunities in the marketplace. So this is the kind of analysis that I'm talking about. Then another aspect, of course, is the proposed organizational structure. Who's going to be on your management team? How are you going to potentially evolve that team over time? And then finally, financial analysis, looking at kind of a pro forma, which means an analysis of how your revenue and cost would occur and your profitability based on certain assumptions. So let's break that down a little bit. And we're not necessarily talking here about a Bible or reams and reams of paper, but you do have to have the necessary detail for the complexity of the business that you're going to be running. If you're running a franchise, probably a lot of the material you'll be looking for is available through the franchise corporation. But if you're looking to start your own business, again, whether it's bricks and mortar or software, you're going to need some basic pieces. So one aspect is your business mission. You need to make sure that your business mission is clear, simple, concise about what business you're in, what you intend to achieve, how you're going to achieve it, and what customers you're going to target, and how you're going to differentiate your products and services from similar companies. So that's basically the business mission is your raison d'etre combined with the products and services you're going to be providing. Now, the next part of your plan is the business values. So what are some of your guiding principles? So for our company, Gnosis, when we first developed our business plan, and we do so every fiscal year, we looked at our key values, and our values were substance, which were providing the people and expertise that are equivalent to or better than that of industry leaders at a reasonable price. Relevance was another core value, bringing the most forward-thinking and industry-specific knowledge, learning, and methodologies to fast-track our ability to deliver a solution to the customer's problems. And results, bringing experts, people who've done it before in the particular industry or in the particular technology that the client is having a problem in, and who can successfully execute the strategy and create results quickly. So that's a good example as well of business values. Then the next part, of course, are objectives and goals. And objectives for me tend to be more macro, larger scope, and goals tend to be more specific and more short term in terms of what will be achieved on an annual basis. Objectives might be things to be achieved over maybe 2, 3, or maybe even 5 years. So, but something you have to keep in mind is that with objectives and goals, they need to be specific, they need to be measurable, they need to be attainable, results-oriented, and time-bound. That's what we call SMART goals or objectives. Okay, so these are very important. And something I do as just a general business practice is we do our goals and our objectives in our business plan, but I also do my own personal goals every year at the beginning of the year. But I also update them on a monthly basis and even on a daily basis. So, or we might say that I have objectives for the year, objectives for the month, and then I have goals to achieve maybe on a daily or a weekly basis. And I write down those goals every day, and I determine whether or not I'm achieving them. As a general practice, and I'm not talking about the business plan per se, but more as a good practice, I write down 3 personal goals and 3 business goals each day because that's a manageable number to achieve. Most of the time I achieve both sets of goals. Sometimes I don't. Depends on how hairy the goal is, but I try to make it bite-sized, especially on a daily basis. And of course, these daily goals feed into the weekly goals, feed into the monthly objectives, and then the yearly objectives as well. So keep that in mind too as a general practice. Okay, so the next part of the business plan is the part where you describe your products and services. And this really is a detailed description of your product or your service. And you need to understand the nature of the market, the product, the service. Are you looking at a very complex business model or a very simple business model? Depending on market forces, competition, economy, the types of products and services, you may have a lot of detail in terms of your product, and it might be technical specifications or technical requirements, or it might be kind of more general. So for example, if you were in the retail business selling women's fashion, you might say, our product is going to be women's apparel for executive women, and the services that we'll provide are bespoke styling services to allow a woman executive to go from the boardroom or the office to dinner or to a soccer game, kids soccer game, and everything in between. So that, again, I'm trying to speak to a wide variety of people that might be interested in starting a business. So I'm giving you different examples. If you're starting a software company or a professional services company, you need to really understand the services you're going to be providing or the software product in very, very simple terms and its benefits as well. Because for a lot of technology companies, the product description is very complicated sometimes, and the reader or the recipient of the information is asking the question, so what? So what if you have a great mousetrap in the cybersecurity world? So what? What does that mean for me? So it's very, very important to understand the value of the product and the service and be able to explain it in very, very simple terms. And that brings us to the next piece of the business plan, which is the value proposition. what differentiates you? What additional features and benefits do you provide um, that are different than your competitors? And are they at the same price as your competitors, or are they at better pricing models? You need to intuitively as well as empirically be able to describe the benefit you're adding to your customers. And you need to do the market research to back it up, because just having intuition is good. It is really good. It's an important element of being a successful entrepreneur, but it's not the only thing, unfortunately. You've got to do your research. That brings us to the other elements of research, which is the SWOT, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you need to look at your market analysis. You know, this shouldn't be something new to you. You should be quite familiar with the market that you're thinking about developing your business in. And also, you need to think about your assumptions. What assumptions are you making that need to be factored into your market research? So as I mentioned, SWOT. So strengths are the assets or capabilities within your company, such as your management team or customer success stories, or your value add or your value proposition, et cetera, et cetera. Some of the key features of your product that stand out against competition. Your weaknesses are really areas of vulnerability of your product or service with respect to your own organization. Examples of weaknesses are, for example, a lack of a track record in selling the product or service, or not having enough capital to support your business model, or not having enough skilled resources, et cetera, et cetera. Opportunities really are about revenue, market penetration, customer retention, quality management, and how to leverage these assets into additional revenue or profit. And of course, threats are, again, external things coming at you, government policies, the general economy, the political climate, perhaps new products or services your key competitors will be launching, perhaps in the immediate term. So thinking about all of the things from outside of your company. So strengths and weaknesses are all the things within your control, within your organization, and opportunities and threats are those things outside of your organization. Then the next component of your business plan is your proposed organizational structure, your management team. You need to think about having some kind of finance or accounting person. And this could be in an accounting firm where you outsource that service. You need to think about sales and marketing, finance as well, because you may need help in raising capital. Legal help, so a good lawyer, an investment advisor, an HR person, IT people or staff, a good banker. And by the way, this is always very hard to come by because I have found that in my almost 30 years of business, banks have gone from building relationships and really caring about, the relationship with the entrepreneur to really being transactional, extremely transactional, and driving a lot of their business digitally to the point where I know when you have a good banker and a good account manager, it makes a huge difference because they can allow you to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do. Like I heard one case study from a colleague who explained that they spun off a new company. It did really, really well. There were multiple partners. One of the partners didn't have any skin in the game in terms of money, but was running the entity and kept demanding money for new resources, to hire new resources without necessarily having the revenue to go with it. After a while, this created quite a debt load on all the partners, and it became untenable for them. They didn't want to continue paying for they didn't want to continue paying for all of those resources and having a loan as well. So as a result, they see how do I as I was saying, this group of partners got really tired of taking on additional debt. And I'm sure they weren't seeing the results, because if they were seeing the results, they obviously would have continued on with the partnership. But it just was probably not a good thing financially for them. And secondly, it was probably very stressful to constantly argue about this philosophical notion of hiring people without necessarily having the revenue to go with it. So, anyways, having a good banker came in very, very handy, because one of the partners was going to try to get a buyer, couldn't find a buyer. So the banker actually stepped in and lent money to the partner that went off on their own. And then that partner was able to pay out the loan that they owed the other partners and get his company off of the ground. So in that case, a good banker was completely invaluable, because otherwise those partners would have been stuck together until somebody came along and bought them out, or maybe even if they potentially had gone out of business. So these are really important elements. And then, of course, insurance. You've got to have good insurance. Depends on what kind of business you're in, but insurance is absolutely key. And then let's get to the final part, which is I would say the most important piece of it, your financial analysis. You need to paint a scenario of what you think is achievable in terms of revenue, what you think you can bring into the company reasonably in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years. And you need to paint the kind of expenses that would go along with it. Now, for some companies, if they're bricks and mortar, this financial analysis is extremely important, because banks may or may not be willing to lend you money based on the numbers. If there is like significant ROI or significant certainty of a contract of revenue, for example, you've been in a particular industry your whole career, and one of your clients in the industry has told you they will give you X dollars contract to get you started, and you go to the bank with that, even a letter of intent from your client, and you have all your underlying expenses enumerated and everything, you may actually be able to get a line of credit reasonably easily, or some kind of loan to buy equipment. But if you are making assumptions based on feelings and wishes, no one will give you money. No one will give you a buck even. So you need to outline salaries, benefits, bonuses, rent and lease expenses for office space, utilities, legal and accounting fees, recruitment fees, travel, entertainment, education and training, marketing, promotion, supplies, equipment, IT, that means hardware, software, services, um, you know, etc. So you need to paint a picture of your revenue, need to paint a picture of your expenses. And generally, your rule of thumb is when you spend money, you should have revenue attached uh, coming in order to spend the money. So if you're going to look at leasing, probably look at a shared office initially so that you can minimize your expenses. And then when you have more revenue coming in, and let's say you have a team of dedicated people working together, you may want to get a dedicated office in that case. The key is your business plan needs to be usable, needs to be updatable, needs to be simple, because if it's really complex, you are not going to go back to it on a regular basis and refer to it and actually use it as a guide for your business. So it's important that you have the right level of detail, but you have that concept of usability in mind. So those are the key elements I would recommend to you in terms of getting your business plan done. And of course, fly it by your mentors, fly it by your accountant, fly it by your banker, fly it by your employees, your potential employees. At this point, it could be a husband and wife team. So again, don't do anything in isolation or in a vacuum, but constantly get feedback, and then maybe look at firms in or companies in your industry and look at whether or not your numbers are realistic. So again, if you're going the retail business and you have colleagues or you have experience in that industry, don't say you're going to generate $1 million of revenue if it's not normal to generate $500,000 of revenue for a first year business. So be realistic. And yeah, you need to have all of these things in place. And I hope this will give you sort of a good guideline for what you need to include in your business plan. And in high tech, it's a little bit more interesting in the sense that you may have a very complex business plan with a lot of detail, but oftentimes investors are looking for a couple of pages that are very succinct and very, excuse me, very succinct, very compelling, very fact-based, in order for them to determine whether or not they're going to invest money in your company, if that's a route that you're thinking about, whether it be angel investors or venture capitalists or whatever. So I hope you found this description on your business plan helpful. And I look forward to talking to you more in the near future. Take care and good luck with your business.